You are listening to King's Court Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the King's Court Podcast. I am the King, Brandon. In the other corner, we have
me, the GOAT, eternal second placer, Axel here.
Wow, we're already, oh my God. All right. Yeah, congratulations to you. Wow, damn. All right. And we have a special guest I am so excited to have on. The man, the myth, the legend. If you know, you know. Peter H in the building.
Yo, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I think our least publicly known figure coming to the podcast.
I do flatter myself to say that I am kind of an if you know, Netrunner player.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think also this is different because I think most of the guests, pretty much all the guests that we've had so far, have been playing since like the beginning of time. You are new blood. So
I am relatively new. Yeah, I only joined with NSG, so I started playing after Gateway came out.
Oh, we have a second Zoomer on the podcast?
Yes.
I thought this would make Axu very happy.
Unbanned Boomer, Netrunner Zoomer.
Very good. So yeah, like we like to do on these, give our audience a bit of a history lesson on kind of how you got started. Were you playing any other games? You know, what got you in? All that kind of good stuff. To Netrunner first.
Sure, sounds good.
The floor is yours.
Oh, the floor is me. Okay. Yeah, sure. I always thought you were going to give me more of a lead-in. No. Okay, so I started playing Netrunner, I guess it was during the pandemic. I was in like this board game group, which I'm still friends with all those folks. Like I'm actually going to be living with a couple of them here in a week. But we were playing a bunch of different board games, and I heard about Netrunner and its reputation at the time. This was after FFG had like lost the license and everything. Was that it was like a great card game, that like had sort of died too soon. That it had been discontinued, but that it was like a classic, a legend that people sort of respected and liked a lot. And I'd known about that for like a year or two. And figured, hey, like I have all this time to get in board games, so I might as well get into Netrunner a little bit. So I got like System Update Gateway, and like just bought those, and then played a little bit on JNet, and like just did some deck building on my own. Didn't end up getting super into it with like the other people I was playing board games with. But then started playing more on JNet. I played a ton of Architects of Tomorrow. That was like my ID.
All right.
Big inhale from Aksu, yeah. Architects is like, I think, a very interesting ID, not because it makes you do boring bullshit glacier stuff, or because it's super easy to play a bunch of bioroids, but because it rewards you for doing some weird and specific things. It limits your card pool. You can only play bioroids, really, or you can play some other stuff, but mostly you play bioroids. Which gives you sort of some deck building assistance, but it also means that like your ice suite has specific kinds of problems that you then need to solve. The other thing that's super interesting about the ID is it rewards you for resing ice in weird ways. You do res ice normally, but it also means that like there are a whole bunch of strange res patterns that you can do, and the payoff for this, you get a bunch of fake money. You get $4 whenever the runner passes one of these pieces of ice the first time a turn, which is crazy. Like that's an enormous economic swing. So you can play a bunch of super expensive ice, but you have to be very particular about where you're resing it and why, what you're doing with it, if you want your deck to be anything more than just like a failure glacier pile. So anyway, I played a bunch of Architects. I found it very compelling. And mostly played a bunch on JNet. Then sort of just said, hey, I'll get into playtesting. And that's kind of how I got looped into everything else Netrunner, and how I really got like sucked in. I have been a consistent Netrunner playtester since, I would say, like a year after I started playing. So probably for about 3 years at this point, coming up on 4 at some point here. And that's been where a lot of my attention goes as a Netrunner player. And then I'll like pop back out and like, look at what's going on competitively and like standard, or just like hang out and talk to people about doing other casual stuff. But mostly a lot of my attention goes to playtest, which is where it is today. I was on Unbanned for a while. Brandon, the King, like You invited me onto that team, and it was great. I feel like that's how I've met a lot of the like good friends I have in Netrunner has been through you, basically. So that's about where it sits today. Still doing a bunch of playtests and hanging out sort of in the periphery of the broader community.
We're uncovering the legend. This is a special moment. I'm happy, and I do remember those Architect Tomorrow days.
Oh no.
There's a time where playing Netrunner, which is basically you start from like the beginning of Netrunner and like you play like the beginning card pools and then like you do like async with stuff and then
Yeah.
after that's done you'll add like another set and you keep doing that, right?
Mhm.
And I remember Peter like looking at it and being like, oh, it would be cool to learn about like older Netrunner, kind of what that looked like. I I remember when Peter found Stronger Together.
Isn't that the fucking
It
dog shit?
was
Like you get 1 per strength every time or something.
oh,
Yeah.
but Peter, see, this is one of the things that makes Peter a legend. Peter cooks, okay?
No fucking shot.
So I'm just oh my god, I'm there with my mimic crying. Just crying. I'm like, Peter, why? Peter used like what was it, toy box to res like some
Yeah.
behemoth stuff. Like
It was a toy box setup.
holy smokes, he cooked. Like yeah, I was like, it's probably like the world wouldn't be ready if Peter had something like this at his disposal.
Imagine Peter starts playing like 2014 and the game dies there directly after this shit gets printed.
And Peter would be screaming, more of this, please. I do want my my. I don't even think like Giannis was like your favorite card, but
Yeah. No,
but
I
like
really love like the mid-range bioroids. Like Ichi 1, I love that card so much. Eli, Ravana, I love both of those.
Mhm.
But probably Ichi from that time period was like my card. I love Ichi a lot.
I think I'm okay. You were here for Fairchild 3, yeah?
Yes, when I first started playing, it was banned. And then it
Right.
got unbanned. And so I was around for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fairchild 3 is my. When I first started playing, that was like I started playing CI, and that ice was like my first thing. Oh my god! And then even in Mati, I used to just like play it. In Fairchild 3,
I mean, you play
always had
Fairchild
this.
3 everywhere you can. It's so sick. Like, I played a lot of Asa when I started, and PD and everything, and that card was kind of sick.
Fairchild 3 helped, like, it's just a big contributor in, like, the snack stack. Like, there's just so many times where Fairchild 3 has just come up where I'm like, thank you so much, Fairchild 3.
Thank you for your
Thank,
service. Taken
thank,
from us
thank
for
you.
way too soon.
Thank you for the
Yeah.
person who made this beautiful piece of ice.
Yeah, I feel like so I want to say two things on that. One of them, I think my favorite bioroid of all time is actually probably Fairchild 2. Um, Not because it's like the best ice, but because it's almost always interesting for the runner to encounter. And obviously, if they have Buzzsaw out and it's like $2 to break, okay, that's a tragedy. But we can lay that at Buzzsaw's feet, not Fairchild 2. But a lot of the early game encounters, it's like a 3 subroutine ice where the subroutines mostly do different things. And you have like choices within the subroutines, and you only have 2 clicks to break it as opposed to 3, which means the runner running into it has like a lot of little subtle choices about how they want to interact. It's also like well statted against most of your normal breakers. Very cool ice. The other thing, Fairchild 3 is a great example of how much having good subroutines matters. Like, just astoundingly so. Because another ice that I really like, a teeny, exact same stat line as Fairchild 3.
Yeah.
No, nobody really plays a teeny, just because of that end run and because of how much better the face check is on Fairchild. And I think it's easy to say, oh, the subroutines don't matter that much because I'll just break it, or oh, it's just going to get broken, whatever. But I think that Atini to Fairchild 3 is a great example of how important it is to have like a couple key subroutines that do stuff.
I mean, yeah, Fairchild 3 kind of is ruining if you face check it early game.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah, whereas Athene is like 3 damage, or you can misplay and pay the money.
Yikes.
Well, unfortunate thing about Atini, if you don't have a breaker installed, you can still spend Chesva credits on the Atini subroutines.
Oh yeah, that's also true.
I will say I have gotten at least one Atini flatline post Threat 3, and probably a couple more in playtest actually. So sometimes that threat text does matter. Occasionally you can get with the damage.
I'm gonna go once every 50 games. It matters.
Less than that. Well, actually, it does. You get the flatline once less than probably once in 100 games.
That's what I mean.
But the runner can't pay through it actually does matter more often than that, which
Does
is kind of
it?
surprising.
Yes.
Yep.
No
That
shot, it
matter,
does.
yeah.
Like,
I've played probably 70 games of Restoring Humanity in this format with
Yeah.
Atini in it, and yes, it does matter.
like Restoring Humanity
Yeah,
Glacier Pro or the Blast Metas bullshit Bacterial deck?
Oh, current regular Jinteki Glacier.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you.
Yeah, no, it had a good JNet win rate, but like, what is that? You know?
Peter's not sorry. He loves that shit.
Losing
yeah, I love
Janet?
No.
No,
Like his Glacier Restored Humanity deck. Like, how many testing games have happened where it's just me on some, and Peter
Yeah.
being like, "Restoring Humanity, let's do it," and him making like stupid amounts of money, and rezzing good ice before they get nerfed.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
really the
playtesting
story.
might be different.
Yeah, playtesting.
No, I mean,
pretty
there is a
sick.
fair amount of suffering in playtesting. Like, so my take is that the current standard environment is really runner favored, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have thought that was going to be the case for like 2.5 years. Like this is just where we've been going, because a lot of my experience in playtest sometimes is playing like regular decks and then kind of suffering with them, and realizing that I think in an unoptimized format, it's sometimes easier to see what like broad meta trends are than if you're playing a super optimized environment. Because if you're playing a bunch of like really optimized corp decks and a bunch of really optimized runner decks, their goal is to circumvent the problems that they're having. Like your aim is to say, well, if ice is shit, I'm not going to care about ice. Or if
Yeah.
it's too good, I'm going to play super rushy so that it doesn't hit the table. Or, oh, if runners have all this like super early pressure, then I need to glacier up in certain ways, which isn't necessarily what's happening right now, but like something to think about. But if you're playing like middle of the road average decks that aren't that good, you feel much more strongly all of these forces on the environment. Like Turbine and Boat become much more heinous if your deck isn't that great. And so playing kind of mediocre decks, if you're like sensitive to these things, is really interesting and valuable as far as like getting an understanding of what a format is going to be like. So all that to say, I've played a lot of reg decks and they've kind of sucked for a long time. And I just know the Glacier's not in a good spot. And also that my subsequent take is the runner card pool to handle Glacier decks is way deeper than people give it credit for. Like way deeper. You could ban like probably the 10 best runner cards, and Glacier still is not going to be a great deck. It'll be like fine, but runners could still tech super hard into it and just crush it if they wanted to.
I think there's like an incentive thing there, right? Like, I think if you ban the 10 best runner cards, playing Rush is just easier than playing Glacier.
Yep.
Yeah, but like if you could only play Glacier in a world where like you can score out before turn 10 or something.
Or even like turn 7. Like even just mid-range Glacier, you know? Like you don't have to be as Mari 6 or something. You can, even if you're just playing like, food coats or some variant of that, to harken back to like the Ret Runner environment. I think that stuff is still extremely cooked.
Shoutouts to his Mari 6.
Yeah, shout out to his Mari 6.
That's what I want to say. Yeah, I think this all makes me just like miss
Sad.
miss
Nostalgic.
good ice. But I wanted to get into kind of what you have been doing majority Netrunner, because I think, like, unlike guests that we've had before, you don't play competitively.
Correct. I don't.
Right.
I've basically played in I think one actual Netrunner tournament in my entire career, and that was just a local
Oh, really?
with somebody else's decks.
Yeah, so this adds, this is like, if you know, myth legend stuff, is that like Peter H's name was like whispered, oh, like, and if people they're like, oh my God, I love his work. But for a long time, nobody's actually seen Peter H like out and about, which is really funny, really cool. So you've actually just really mainly focused on the playtesting side. One of the questions I have is, or maybe you can give some quick fire or deeper explanation, whatever you choose to do. What is playtesting for people who don't know? And then like, why do you enjoy it? Like, why should people get into playtesting?
Yeah, great questions. And Brandon, when you're like, Peter, are you going to give a deep dive or a rapid fire answers? You can probably guess which of the two I'm going to be
That's
providing.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't even need to say the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, Peter, can you talk for 30 minutes on this subject? I'm like, I got you, brother. Don't worry about it. So playtest for people who don't know is um, the process by which future set releases are evaluated and refined. Uh, there's sort of a long pipeline that goes from design into development and then development in collaboration with playtest to produce the cards that get released. Um, Design does sort of, and this design development distinction is something that mostly comes out of the board gaming space, which
Mhm.
it may seem a little weird to people who are like coming from video games or things like that, but it's sort of a board game standard by my understanding. So design makes a bunch of initial ideas about what kinds of cards are going to exist, what the sort of broad direction of things is going to be, and they will present an initial file to development with a lot of version one of cards. And then it is the job of playtest to basically take these cards as dev iterates on them
Mhm.
and just play them a bunch and then provide feedback. Say, is this card fun? Is this card interesting? Does this card feel strong? Does it feel weak? And then do that for however much time you have to work on a set. Which sometimes, a couple times, has been like as little as 8 months, but usually should be, in my view, at least a year to 18 months on a given set. And then development over the course of that time goes through anywhere from, 8 to like 15, maybe 18 iterations, where some cards will get changed between a version, some cards won't. Sometimes these are like small numbers tweaks, sometimes these are complete reworks.
Mhm.
And then we take the new set of cards and play them again, and then send opinions back to dev. Dev makes changes, and then it goes back to playtest. There are a couple sort of conceptions about playtest that people have, especially right after a set gets released, that I think are worth clearing. The first one, playtest. I think there's. I'll frame these as like myths. First myth: playtest is about finding balanced cards, about balancing cards, and making sure that ones that are too strong or too weak get handled, and ones that are just right get kept in the set or printed. That's not really what playtest does. Playtest is about making sure that the game is fun to play, and interesting and engaging. And that has sort of as a second order whether or not the game is balanced. But that is basically, you want the game to be roughly balanced or equitable in some way such that it's engaging to play. Because if the game is super unbalanced, there are problems. You start to get frustrated, or you have concerns about how it's going to feel to like go to a tournament. Um, so you want the game to be balanced so that it can be fun. That's sort of like, I would say, the first myth that people have about playtest. So if something really strong gets printed, it's like, oh well, why didn't playtest catch this? Part of the answer is it's not playtest's job just to stop good cards from getting printed. The second myth is that playtest is easy. um, Playtest is really, really hard. And I think until people have like hopped in and done playtesting, it can be easy to assume that the conclusion that gets drawn about a card in the first month of its release is what playtest should have immediately seen. But what people see is like the 10% or the 5% of the glacier of cards that get revealed. They
Mhm.
don't see the 90% of stuff that has actually been changed or modified to either remove things that are strong or weak, or things that are unfun, or to make things more interesting and engaging, or just to make things more thematically coherent. All of that sort of work ends up being fairly invisible when it works out. And so people will see one or two cards that they feel should or are too strong or are too weak. Like, why didn't these get addressed?
Mhm.
Which are just like usually the things that slip through. because all the other 90% of the work happens. So I'd say those are like two. The last one that I want to address, and this is one that sometimes happens when people join playtest, is that playtesters are developers. And this will then get into sort of your question about, well, why do I like it? Like, what's enjoyable about it? Playtesting is not making the game. Playtesting is like criticism. You are not making a movie, you are watching the movie and then saying what you like about it. It's a very critical, reflective process. You are given a bunch of cards by development, and then it is not your job to say whether they should be better or worse. There's this sort of, I think, broad societal understanding that if you're going to critique something, you should provide solutions, right? That is like something that people have to unlearn when they get into playtest. You are supposed to just identify problems. You're supposed to just say, this thing is bad, and I'm not going to tell you how to fix it. That's your problem. So it's really about taking what is given and just having like a very, very first level interaction with it. Saying, oh, this card was really fun. Explaining why it was fun, or saying, oh, this card was not fun, or this card did a whole lot in this game, and then not saying, well, and here's how you should change it. You just say, this thing felt bad, and you elaborate on that. You dig into a reasoning rather than sort of like stepping back and trying to change it. So, and that's what I really like about it, is how much it's a process of like being really thoughtful and reflective and careful with the kind of feedback and analysis that you're giving, and not necessarily trying to develop or design anything. It's like there's a whole separate space in playtest for like playtester initiated card ideas, because that's such a different activity. Like playtesters are not there to make cards or develop them or anything. I could keep going, but I should stop at some point.
I mean, like this is your show. I mean, if you want to add more, definitely add more. But if not, like I have questions.
Weren't also Brennan you in playtesting?
Yeah. I haven't been as involved lately, but yeah, there is definitely a time where, man, me and Peter were putting in 8 hours a day, just play something. Yeah, and so when Peter tells you, yeah, it's shit's hard. I shouldn't say hard. This is not easy. Yeah, there's a lot of playing, reflecting, even just getting to know the cards that playing with, and just making decks that just function the way you want it, or like you find out, oh, this doesn't function the way I want it to. So like, is that a me thing? Is that a card thing? Is that a like? There's so much that goes into it. I mean, like Peter can speak. The amount of data that we were getting off, the amount of time we were, was like incredible. I really enjoyed that, because I think it answered a lot of questions. And honestly, I think playtesting, like what I found is it changed a lot of my perspectives on the game, just in terms of like, oh, finding out what works with what, it kind of like, there's like a deck building skill element that you kind of just like end up, hopefully getting like better at, because you kind of do it. It's like you have to put together the decks most of the time, like unless you just take somebody else. But like, if you want to try cards, you're the one building it out. You know what I mean? And like that was really cool. I think learning to kind of evaluate cards, or evaluate like why something was happening, or like why it was like huge, right? Like I remember, like, and sorry, Peter, because you'll probably talk about this in more detail, but like, just like Rozeki, right? How much that changed a deck's outlook in terms of its being able to keep up, or dominate, like have your runner dominate, or keep up, or make things unbearable for the Corp. Like it's just like it was so like it's something that I feel like I would feel the effect in standard, but I wouldn't understand it from, because like in standard you just be like, okay, I throw in Rozeki, you know what I mean?
You don't really think about it at all.
Yeah, you don't think about it. And so then you start to think about like, why is this particular card that like says this thing? Like, why does it do that? Like, why does it impact the game in this way? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many things, because you have to then be able to be like, yeah, this card felt bad because this and this and this happened, or this felt really good because this and this and this happened. This had way less impact than I thought because it really takes this situation for this card to do the thing. Like, it was all super cool. I guess a little addition to that as well is like you read some cards and you're like, oh wow, right? You read them again and you're like, oh wait, or you play them and you're like, oh wait, this doesn't do exactly what I thought it did, or like, oh, this is actually better than I like. From the reading the cards to applying that, like, there's just so many things. So yeah, I enjoy the process. It's very good, especially when you get to do it with our super awesome guest Peter H. Um, it's a good time.
I was just going to say my experience in playtesting is I have never done it, and I'm just with the shitters saying that why the fuck Tributary got through.
Yeah, I mean that's part of playtesting is also learning lessons about how to playtest and sort of heuristics for how to approach development. And I think Tributary is one example of a card that received substantial changes late in the process, which meant there was less time to evaluate those changes. And I think that is sometimes that leads to really bad cards. Sometimes it leads to cards that are totally fine. There are some that I would like that I wish I could talk about, but they're recent enough that I can't. And sometimes it leads to cards that are like too good or lead to frustrating gameplay patterns. But I think the sort of conclusion that has emerged from that is we should be really, really careful about cards that seem fine that we want to change late in development. Like err on the side of letting this thing be kind of weak and interesting rather than trying to make it better. So I think that's to speak a little bit about maybe Tributary in particular. That's something that I think happened there. It's a card that just saw a lot of late cycle change.
Yeah, I think that's the classic whenever like often a card is kind of broken accidentally, it's because it got changed late in the development cycle.
Yeah.
That's my read on stuff.
I love Tributary though.
Yeah, I think too though sometimes I think there's one thing that like maybe people might not understand, or and Peter, you can speak to this. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think one of the things with playtesting that I felt was like, I think it's hard to get the data on all the cards that you're testing.
Yeah.
Because I think there's like the one big thing is like there's a human element of like, this looks cool, I want to play with this. This doesn't look cool, I'll get to this later, or someone else will test it, kind of thing. And so sometimes things get missed that way as well when there's not as much. Like, I think Peter, you were really, I feel like one of the only people that was playing Keeling consistently, and not in the gross way that Unbanned started doing it, but just like as a just, oh yeah, like I'm gonna put this in my deck. You kind of have to answer it, but I don't build around it. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, it didn't really. I don't really feel like it got looked at a lot, and then woo, it's Keeling. You know what I mean? So, sometimes it's hard. And so like, even Peter was always telling me like, you gotta try this card and that card. We like, because we need to, like, you need to know, even if it looks bad, we can at least say it was bad for this and this reason. But like, if we don't, then yeah, you're not uncovering things that we need to uncover, or there's a potential to miss things, or just like, then you can have like, it can lead to late situations where this was minimally tested, and then we can buff this, and it's like, oh no, and it's something that maybe could have been avoided with just a little bit more testing of the card and having a better understanding of what it does, when and where and how and all this stuff. So,
yeah, I think that's one thing that's super important in playtesting, and that is also sort of playtesting has taught me about the game in general, is just playing the cards. It's easy to look at a card and have a bunch of opinions about it. It's very different to have sat down and played it in 5 or 10 games and say, oh, here's what actually happens when I put this on the board. Like, here's I do res this. Oh, I do use this during a run. Oh, this card is actually terrible. Oh, this thing is a way bigger problem for these reasons, et cetera, et cetera. I think one recent card that I won't talk about its development, but like had this happen was a bit of a hot button. We talked about this with Bridgman and Sokka, was Mitra. I think Mitra was revealed in Elevation, and a bunch of people were worried about it. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this thing's going to be so good." Right? They're like, "Oh, this breaks the rules about how you interact with ice." Maybe part of the issue there is that runners are so good at interacting with ice these days that actually it doesn't matter what ice you put in front of them. But Mitra has like been a non-problem. And I think that's a result of like people play the card. Like you actually put in some reps with the card, you see what it does, and you then work on it from there. And so part of what is so important about playtesting is that cards get developed as a result of people playing them, not just as a result of them looking at them, because those are very different things. Like playtest serves an essential function in there in that sense. And yeah, it is really just about getting your hands on the cards, playing them, and then having like this sort of very informed, focused response to what it was like to play that card. We could tell that Keeling was good when we were looking at it. I wasn't putting it in the. You were the one, Brandon, who was like, "Oh, we should put this in a deck that's just about Keeling," and I was like, "Yeah, I guess you can do that. That's fine. That's probably going to be good, but I'm happy about that." But I looked at Keeling next to Borehole, and I was like, "These are not the same picture." You know, like both of these will kill the runner in 6 turns, but one of them costs them 4 to trash and doesn't give them anything. As a matter of fact, it shrinks their hand size, and the other one is like garbage. It's only an outfit card, really. If
I
that.
I mean, like, I always looked at Borehole as like a joke card that you put in there for like
Yeah,
casual players to like be like, oh, I killed you with Borehole, haha.
thematically a very cool card. Like I'm happy it got printed. You're not usually going to get someone with it, especially because when I was looking at Borehole, we were testing Liberation, and like Pinhole was in that set, and Pinholing Borehole is just brutal. It's like so nasty. They're like,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I'll let you take 5 bad pub, and then I'll pinhole it, and now I have 5 bad pub for the rest of the game. Thank you very much.
I mean, you used to have political
That's
operative,
pretty
which is
nasty.
even worse for you.
Yes, Paul up also pretty rough.
I guess you don't actually get the bad political credits to trash it, but yeah.
So pinhole's better.
You hear it here first.
Because of that specific interaction, I'm sure.
I mean, also chess credits and like, for real the cards are kinda, they're different, I guess, power level wise.
Yeah. Here's Brandon. You're not going to be happy to hear this. I'm kind of coming around to liking pinhole. I kind of like it being around.
Give me your pitch.
Pinhole's bad because ice is bad. We should just make ice better, and then you can ice archives. And I think runners have 1 or 2 shots a game where they get to like cheat around a server
Yeah.
and not necessarily interact with agendas, just with defensive upgrades, is kind of good. Part of what an example of decks that people have really disliked, that are not scoring decks, are like Keeling and Drago, and like even Clearinghouse. And Pinhole is much better against those than it is against scoring decks. And my drum beat is we should make scoring decks better. You should just be able to score out of a remote. You shouldn't have to do something that isn't scoring because putting agendas on the table is so cringe. And Pinhole is better against non-scoring decks than it is against scoring decks. So, or some kinds of non-scoring decks. So I'm kind of coming around to it on those terms. And I think that the solution is actually everything else about Corp should be better. We shouldn't just ban Pinhole.
Yeah, I mean, like, currently I think the problem with Pinhole is that Corps need the upgrades to actually be able to score out. Because, like, only way you score out is like Anoetic Void and Managam or something. And the ice, it by itself doesn't really do anything. So you, like, take care of the Anoetic Void, and the server is kind of just easy to run.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, I'll spend 7 and I'm fine.
I think I disagree for one major reason that you mentioned. I agree with making Corp things better, right? Scoring's cool. But the thing I majorly disagree with is icing archives. I think one of the things that I've identified as a reason as why we are here where we are now is just because runners get too much value from running archives, and we lose way too much from actually having to stop them to do that. Icing archives is one of the fucking worst things that you ever have to do. Probably up there with purging fermenter. Like, it's fucking awful.
People had to ice archives for a long time, right? Because they had you did, because you had like security, but what's it called? Security testing.
Site testing?
Yeah.
Or testing.
You have to like ice that shit
like,
out. You had Paragon and Leech and Data Second and everything. Like, surely you had to ice archives.
When I talk about like that's like a crim thing.
Also an arc thing.
No. So specifically against Crim, when you
Yeah.
usually did that, and you could ice them out. So like doing it meant you were in a very strong position. Me icing archives matters fuck all. Like, like right now, like
This
it's
is
something
true.
that you're right. It's something that like you're like, ooh, like I should do this for these and these reasons, but like it's like maybe a turn of relief, and then you're back to the same position right before.
Also,
Okay,
Yeah, I
ice
guess
archives
right?
against turtle and everything.
I guess my the footnote here on me saying, "Oh, ice archives is not a big deal," is A, sometimes we should just say the pinhole through an empty archives. Like, okay, you'll just tax them if you put the ice there a little bit. B, you're also talking to the dude who's like last 60 games of standard on Corp side or with Restoring Humanity, where I'm doing that shit anyway, so like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're
Um,
gaining value from doing it.
yeah, C, I think like your point that the ice doesn't matter is very true. When I'm like, oh, I have a res Attini on archives, I guess I also need a hammer there, because the Attini does nothing. Like
Yeah,
that's kind of an
like
issue.
right, and so it's like, I think people have talked about this. Like, I think MD Kelly was just like, something like Banhar, when it's on the board, you actually need like Banhar actually asks you to have like 2 or 3 deep servers on every
Yeah.
server to be able to like play the game properly, and that's just so unrealistic. But I think like going back to your point, actually, like there was a point where we didn't have Jackson, we didn't have Spin, we just played preemptive, and you could dump an agenda in the bid naked. Like Pete,
Yeah.
the only yeah, like we did that stuff. Like
Yeah, for like 2
you
months.
like a no in a virus in the bin
Yeah.
was or sorry, Cyberdex virus suite in the bin was good enough. Or if you were one of those like gross decks, breach dome were in there. You can't go there. You know what I mean? Like, but runners like can like if you, they can really hurt you from it's either getting super amounts of value, but also just like the tricks to get around and like either hit your remote or like maintenance access, Aru, and Mercury, like things like that, or like, hey, ESA just milled a bunch of things and now it's a free run to like steal your gendies, like just whatever the case may be.
I'm just saying that you had to ice archives like every time in the history of Netrunner, and this is not a specific time, but other points I agree with.
But that's where I'm saying like there was definitely times in Netrunner where you didn't have to ice. Cyberdex Virus Suite in your archives was good enough, because
I just don't
usually
believe
it
it.
was like
What the fuck?
it was Turtle Data Sucker.
Yeah, I guess one specific deck you don't have to ice archives, but like there has been always decks that where you have to ice archives. Like you didn't ice archives against a Shaper deck or something,
right.
like ever, and you don't ice archives against Shaper nowadays even.
Depends on what the shaper is, because like
Yeah.
depends what your way of stopping deep dive is, or
If your
if
way of
like
stopping
you
deep
just
dive is icing archives, I have bad news for you, brother.
I think if your play is stopping deep dive, I have bad news for you, brother. Recall.
okay, this is like a very one up, but I think like built to last, like if you're playing like built to last Glacier or Leo or whatever, like ice archives, but like I think also to like if they're a knick-knack deck, just give them like a free knick-knack server. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, but again, it also I think depends on what type of deck you're playing. But like,
Yeah.
what I'm saying, the difference now than before is even before, if you were icing archives,
It did
icing
something, yeah.
archive, it did something. It was putting you in a stronger position. Here, like I can't afford to fucking ice archives and still play the
Yeah,
game.
but that's more of a problem of the ice being bad.
Yeah.
No, well, like partially, but it's also about that like tools are also really good to deal with the ice. Like
I mean, that's
they
the
they,
same
they
thing.
work together.
Like you could have the exact same tools as now, but you print better ice and the issue goes away. You could make the ice stay the same and take the tools away, and the problem would kind of not go away, but
No. I think how I kind of see things is like one of the reasons that it's a problem is because people aren't money for ice. So even if I made the ice better, right? If it's still just getting ban hard, it doesn't matter,
I mean,
right?
if the
Like
ice does more and is cheaper, you can like afford more ice.
Well, I don't think that's quite true because you start to run into a card count problem.
yes,
This is one thing that's strong about Banhar and strong about forcing ice on archives and how those two things also work together is if you need to have two ice on a server
Mhm.
and you need to ice HQ and R&D, that accounts for 4 ice installs. You can then put 2 more on a remote and try to score out of it, that's 6 ice.
Yeah.
If you need to put ice on archives, you then need 8 ice. And if your deck is 16 ice, like which is a pretty chunky amount, but usually people are like 14 to 15, that's over half of your deck before you have like a functional board. Just saying, oh, we can just build deeper servers starts to run into an actual like how many cards do you have in your deck and how quickly are you going to draw them problem. That's not
right.
just and requiring more ice on general servers, like
Mm.
saying, oh, like being able to solve the 2 ice problem consistently as runner with like Boomerang or putting Botulus on a central and requiring like another piece of ice, and then you have Bankar, and then okay, you need another piece of ice. This starts to apply like a general slots pressure across an entire Corp deck that just makes it basically impossible to put enough ice on your servers. It doesn't matter of like ice count. It doesn't matter how good the ice is. Unless the ice is stuff that has additional text that actually messes these things up. Like if you're installing like unsmiling,
Mm.
or not unsmiling, excuse me. Admittedly, VSA is really bad once they install a breaker, like they install Buzzsaw, and it might as well not exist. But if we had like Hammer VSA that cared about like passing and then not breaking killer,
Yeah.
that would sort of do something some of the time. But because Ice doesn't have this text, I think there is just a how many ice are you installing problem that Corps run into when they have to start multi-icing all their servers.
Against bunker specifically, I think. Yeah.
I think
Um,
Bankar, but I think Chesva does something similar across centrals. Um,
yes, yes, and then some of the breakers, right? It's like this is a very not talked about thing, but I think like even certain breakers are culprits, right?
Yep.
Like I think the power counter
Yeah.
breakers are also culprits of this, where it's like, oh yeah, like we just you rest for this much, and I just get to whoop, like
Yeah. Hyperbaric is a real issue.
um
People are
okay.
sleeping on that thing though.
Come
Yeah,
on.
Well, not this far
hyperbaric.
back.
It's so expensive. No shot.
Listen, I'll wait. When you send, when you send the screenshot that I can't read, and then you have to clarify that it's you getting your ass kicked by fucking hyperbaric. I'm waiting. I'll wait.
But
Don't worry.
no
It'll
shot. I'm
come
never
again.
posting about me getting my ass kicked by hyperbaric.
And that's the only reason we don't know about it yet, folks.
Yeah. I think Hyperbaric is a good example though of one of those cards where I'm like the runner pool is actually pretty deep for handling mid-range or slower corps. Like people don't play Hyperbaric because they don't need to, and they don't need to because corps are already suffering in the late game.
Yeah.
And are already rushing. But if
Mm.
suddenly, if someone was like, oh, I'm going to build like this, like if there was suddenly what seemed like a tier 1 Glacier deck out of, say, NBN of all things, where they're playing like NPOT and Mesna Chesvo, or if they're Jinteki and they're playing a Teeny and heaven forbid Microweb, and you're like, oh, I can Hyperbaric up to 3 counters and I don't have to rely on like Buzzsaw Leech to get me there. I think suddenly you're like, oh, Hyperbaric's actually pretty good. But runners just don't need to do that. They totally can, but it's unnecessary.
Stay tuned for my 100 card game net.
I'm just gonna say Unity has kind of good numbers compared to this.
Compared to Hyperbaric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But you have
hyperbaric.
to break VSA for 2, which is stinky. Nobody likes that.
I think also hyperbaric's in a place where, like before, we had a lot more 5 strength code gates.
Yeah.
Like a lot more.
You had some 6 strengths ones.
Yeah, like basically what happened was you'd have the tools to break the subs for cheap.
Mhm.
And it was just about like getting there. And once you got your hyperbaric, you were gonna get in to where you wanted.
No, I mean
For, like,
Hyperbaric has been
1 to
playable
1.
in one deck in the history of the game. And that was the broken
Uh,
pad taplat deck that had just million credits, so it could play fucking any of these like most expensive breakers ever.
They just needed
Like
something relatable.
so when you mean one deck ever in the game, do you mean one deck that like you feel like was like tier 1? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Anything
Okay,
below that
because
doesn't
like,
exist for me. Sorry.
oh, I okay, sure. So like, I mean, on that argument, like as you know of, yes, but like, I think there's been tournaments where there's the stealth shaper, that played hyperbaric.
Yeah.
There was different like kit variants that were decent that played hyperbaric, but like the situation that is happening right now or going forward, like it doesn't seem like hyperbaric is something that's needed. But if there is ever a format where it's needed, it's there. It exists.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, my take on hyperbaric is that it's a fine card that like a runner could play if they wanted to.
Yeah.
It's like not quite optimal, but it's like it's playable. You can put it in a deck, and if you
Sure.
run into the right matchup, you're gonna be like hyperbaric's great. There are a lot of runner cards like that. There's not a lot of corp cards like that.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, sure, but I think that's more to the design of the game,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Speak on that.
Because corporations are like they have their own game plan, which is like typically they drive themselves, or like Corp is the deck that decides the like how the game is going to go more than Runner is, and Runner is more just like answering the Corp threats. So like runners like have tools that answer more directly to the one thing Corp is trying to do, and that like is a stronger answer than the Corps can do. If that makes any sense.
So as a result, you're saying there would be fewer corp cards that just feel generally good that you could put in a deck.
No, like as a consequence, there are less Corp cards that are good in specific matchups. At least
Yeah,
that
I
would
think
be like
that's
good Corp cards typically are less dependent on the matchup, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. Like you like when evaluating something like ScapeNet, like we all love the numbers on ScapeNet, right? but like it has to be. It's one of those things that has to be worth it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
yeah,
then
I think
like
the problem with ScapeNet right now, right, is that it's just getting rid of twinning isn't good enough. Like they'll still single you to death probably,
Yeah, and they'll
and they might have enough
just put a
money
second
anyway.
twinning in.
Yeah, or they install second twinning.
right,
Um,
but like I think what I mean is that like okay, so you like even if there was more cards that were like okay, we play ScapeNet, it's cool, right?
Mhm.
The runner tools that deal with Corp tools are also usually more accessible. So like you can
yeah,
ask it in the deck. They've twinning you like 3 times, and you still haven't found the escape net because you just
yep.
can't get to. You know what I mean? And so like there's just like so many issues with running cards that are just kind of like oh for this specific type right like usually those are really good in like 2 deck form like 2 or 4 deck formats where like the majority of the opponents you're going to be playing are going to be playing this and you can roll the dice but like or maybe in something like a Nuvum where you're like I'm going to get even more value from playing this op or something maybe
Yeah.
but like most of the time it's not a thing. Whereas like as a runner, I could be like, yeah, I can kind of just play this or like if it comes up, it comes up. If not, I probably have ways to turn this into value or it's not a big deal. It's way less of a big deal and usually way easier to get to. Um
Yeah.
So I
Also,
have you ready for a hot take to
yeah, go
address
ahead.
that?
hit me.
Okay. All right. So the latent argument here is that corps don't see as much of their deck, and it's harder to find particular cards. Well, one way we could handle corps seeing more of their deck and also finding particular cards is if games were just a little bit longer, and they went through more of the corps deck. So you were more likely to draw the stuff that you needed, or you felt better about drawing cards. We should reduce the points required in a corpse deck by 4. It should be 16 points, not 20, for a 49 card deck. We need a rules change.
That's a hot take.
I
That is a hot
wasn't
take. I'm throwing it
expecting
out there
this.
because I was thinking about this. I was like, if I actually got to pick how many agendas I was going to play, and I had to win the game by scoring. If I'm a corp deck and I have to score out to win, how many agenda points are you putting in your deck? You can put any number, as few or as many as you want. I think you put about 14 to 16.
Yeah. I think the issue there is kill decks exist, and that shit would be kind of miserable.
Yeah, we ban those. It's fine.
Not no, it's not miserable. Your opponent fucking dies. That's good.
No,
Like,
Also,
no,
I think
sure.
runners, we could let runners get more accesses if there were fewer agenda points floating around.
no, I don't
Yeah.
want them to get more.
Brother,
Brandon's
you
like, no,
cannot
hold
always
on.
be on the Corp side. Come on. Like once.
Listen, number one, I'm a thorough Corp enthusiast because like they're clearly the underdog. As we talked in the last episode, like right now,
Don't they should
like
get fucking
a
14
third
points in your deck?
a third of the Corp deck is that cards they don't even want to play in their deck. They just they're forced, like have to or forced to. So
Okay.
like that's one thing. But the other thing is that like I don't think we talked about this on an episode.
Mhm.
I don't think, but I think like I talked about it with other people, and I was like, there's an idea a lot in Zoomer Netrunner players where it's like, oh yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about would it be worse if you lost a game by misplay, or if your opponent just like ran around and like, just kind of sniped agendas like in like
Yeah,
two
played like
turns
the
they saw
typical
like 7 points.
the typical Mercury deck.
Yes.
Not a Mercury deck, just like regular playing, and your HQ or R&D just coughed it up every time they ran, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, like
right?
just run R&D 3 times to the dirty laundry as like a normal thing
Yeah,
anybody would do,
Yeah.
and they just win the game.
right. And
They just
they're
run
like,
HQ for singles twice on turn 2 through a piece of ice and snipe 2 agendas that happen to be there, and you're like, well,
right,
GG.
right, exactly. And they're like, which one would be worse, right? And a lot of people were like, the misplays, like if I misplayed and lost, it would be worse. It'd keep me
Huh?
up at night. It would be
Who
like,
the fuck have
because
you been talking to? These are not real people.
I'll get to it. I'll get to.
I
I'll
want
get
names
to.
after the podcast.
And I don't know. I'm gonna put them on blast like that. But
After the podcast, do you not have to put them blast here?
Sure. No, it's like this is what I'm saying. Even if I named is like it's a lot more like most people that I've talked to share that opinion. Like
Well,
they're like misplays drive me crazy because they're like I misplayed, and so it means that like I could have been better, and I really could have done the other thing, and I could have won the game or potentially won the game, and like that like mistakes keep me up, right? Versus like variance, like in terms of like them just running around, it's like it's nothing I could have done. Variance happens in the game, and like the take of like variance happens in the game while they ran around stole my agendas is like widely accepted. I feel
I
like by
feel
Zoomer
like you
Netrunners,
have to
but
be putting the question differently here than you put there because I'm just refusing to believe there are people who would answer that way.
that like they would be less tilted by the misplay than the variance. Yeah, no, like very competitive people like want to play perfect. Like they want to do
Yeah,
take
but
the
there's
right
nothing
lines
to
all
take
the time.
away from a game where you like get hit by R&D 3 times and like lose because of that. I think I'll throw my deck against the wall and like stomp on it if that happens to me in a tournament.
Agreed. I am personally on that side, but what I wanted to explain is like I feel like there's more Super Netrunners who are like actually on the side of the misplay part, and I think that's just because like this whole like variance thing is so much more accepted because the variance thing happens a lot more because corps like have way less ability to defend themselves from that sort of thing happening. We like a lot of times at Corp, we're like the main play back in the day was Ice Ice Baby, right?
Yeah.
Ice Ice Hedge, like unless you were playing in asset deck, right?
That's gaming.
And then that that changed to Ice Ice Rashida, right?
Yeah.
And so you were content in being like, I will give up a server to get this advantage that I'm getting, right?
Yeah.
Or wherever the case may be, right? So that's one thing. I think like also before, like on the competitive scene, it's like, you knew at some point you were gonna have to deal with hard hitting news, or if there was 2 ice and you were gonna poke, they were gonna, there was gonna be something that happened that you didn't want the Corp to have, or it was gonna hurt you. And I think we have a lot less of those threats. I don't have any actual data on this. I just, it's like how it looks, how it feels, and like what I've observed. But it definitely feels like that whole variance thing is just like, oh, we accept it because it happens more, because like you have to, because like there's nothing you can really fucking do about it. You know what I mean? But it's like before, it's something I could do about it. And if I was playing against a player who, didn't want to like die first, second turn or turn 3 or whatever, or didn't want to lose key resources, they would actually set up and start making runs when it was reasonable to do so. So you actually got an early game of leeway, and you most likely weren't going to lose, unless you were like, oops, I gave up, I didn't ice R&D against Shaper and they indexed me. You know what I mean? Like, but it usually, you prepared against your threats and stuff, and then the game would kind of really start happening turn 4, turn 5, whatever. And so I'm trying to remember the original reason I brought this up, but yeah, that's like a major difference, I think now. And like, I think before I would be like, yeah, I really don't like, or really misplays. But now, yeah, I get super tilted if it's just like, oh yeah, your deck coughed it up, because like it's just a hope and a prayer that it doesn't happen. It's not like I can do much about it.
Yeah, I guess also nowadays you can punish them less for getting access. Also, like they get, I think you just get more access in general. Also, your agendas are so bad that you like even random access on R&D like win you the game sometime.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
sometimes they just find send message.
Yeah, that's also that's also like another part of it. It was like, and then when they did actually like get in sealed, it was like Obokata, and that was like a hello tempo loss if they wanted it, or it was like Bologna. It's like, ooh, do I steal this? Because like, what's my math look like?
Or like SSL, and now you have money.
Yeah, or GFI, and it was like, this is 2 points, but I got to do this 3 more times. Like, and you were also like, if it was a breaker situation for Slice, you were usually paying quite a bit more than you're paying now. So just like a bunch of those things, I think, combined.
Mm.
You know what would fix some of this? If Corps just had fewer points in their deck.
Oh yes, that's what we were talking about. We were talking about pure points. Like, I was saying this because I was like, actually made the comment about, oh, you can't always be on the Corp side. I think I can like appreciate both if they were more even. Like like not even like, oh, corporate runner rate win rates or whatever. Nothing like that. I just mean like in a lot of other aspects that I think people don't think about. And so like having a rule change that was like, ooh, less agenda points, I think in this meta, that would be so interesting. I would give it a whirl. I don't know if it's like long term the way. I think again we should probably focus on just making corpse, like fixing some of the fundamental corpse things that whatever. But
I'm gonna come out swinging here. To be clear, I don't believe necessarily everything I'm about to say, but I'm gonna say it, which is, if you want to say, oh, we got to fix some fundamental Corp stuff, this is the fundamental problem. Like, why were we so happy about GFI? Because GFI was sort of accounting for a fundamental error in the deck building rules, that Corps are required to have too many points in their deck. And all these issues about runners are getting too many accesses, they're seeing too much stuff. A lot of it just comes back to how many agendas they're seeing, and Corps having so many bad cards in their deck. If you only need like 16 or 14 points in your deck, that's another 2 to 3 deck slots that you get opened up. This affects how happy you are to draw cards. It affects how much ice you can install. Like if we're saying, oh, well, we should actually just handle some fundamental problems first, this is the fundamental problem. That's my pitch. Like, this is the actual core issue. Everything else has just been band-aids for years and years.
can
I'm
we
taking
can
this
we also
silence as agreement. Yes.
I
no,
mean,
no,
Right.
it's really interesting. I'm just afraid of kill decks coming up with like, imagine you play against like a 40 card deck like if they have to put 14 agendas in the deck, and they play vanity project, government takeover.
Yeah, but Gote doesn't exist.
It does for eternal players.
Those are.
Hey, I got second in that eternal tournament this weekend. What's your tongue?
Like, I congratulate you, but like,
Yeah,
I'm talking about standard problems, you know. I mean, we can have a segment on eternal problems if you want, but like,
you point Gote and it's fine.
Okay, here's a question for you, Axu. Would you rather the death penalty or like 40 years to life?
40 years? What the fuck do you mean?
Oh, you're fucked. No fucking way.
Yeah, I'm chilling in the prison.
Listen, you sure are, and that's what you'd be doing. Listen, if your opponent kills you in this sort of format, they're doing you a fucking favor. I'll tell you what. They're doing you a favor. You knew you lost the game, but like you got to play for the next 25 minutes.
All right. Well, if it was 16 points, you'd have to put in a third vanity project, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah, you have to put in 2 points somewhere.
Yeah.
A 4 agenda deck, that would be fucking amazing.
People actually used to play that
I'd be
shit.
so happy.
Amazing to try. Like, it's not actually amazing, but it's like, you know, like amazing in the sense of like, you know, all those decks you're like, oh fuck, I don't have the slots for all these things. Like then you kind of would.
Yeah, sometimes you cannot fit everything in a deck. Like
I know, and this would be like I don't think, like, if you were like, okay, let's think about this as a real like change.
Yeah.
Okay, like we have to vote on this in a week or whatever, something like that. I don't think I would go.
You have to vote on it now. I'm going to co-opt the two of you into this. We're going to AstroTurf a whole movement here.
Oh shit! What have I done?
Do we get to like vote back it on some time, or like is it permanent?
Yeah, it's a 1-year trial pilot program.
Okay, then I'm voting yes.
Oh, sick. Yeah, okay.
Fuck it, let's test it out.
You
like
got
the meta is fucked anyway, so we can like fuck it a fine round. Fuck around and find out. Right now.
Boy was I wrong. I thought Axie would be the hardest to swing.
No, like.
And you got him in 1.5 seconds.
Peter has
I'm working in city politics, you know? I know how this shit works. You give them a 1-year pilot program, you see how it goes. It goes well. They renew it maybe. If not, you have arguments to come back on it. Like, Brandon, you on board? 1-year pilot program, 16 agenda points, 49 cards.
Listen, folks, the key to your success, just anything you want changed, just mention pilot program at the end.
You get the Terror players online by Astro Scripts pilot program.
Yeah, I learned a lot on this podcast about.
No, 16 points. Like, I could play PD and not have to worry about opponents stealing my fucking GFIs all the time. Not GFIs, the bad one. Send a message all the time.
You'd be on 14 points in a 44 card deck.
That's so sick.
Yeah, that's great. Doesn't that sound so nice? Imagine what your list looks like. You're like, every time you draw an agenda, you're like, oh, sick. I'm happy to see it because I can score it. Because like I'm ready to. You're not like, oh, I have 3 agendas in my hand. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah, I'm getting more and more sold. But people would use it for evil though. Like, imagine all the fucking JNet players on GameNet.
Hold on. You're actually, wait a second. Your 7 agenda PD deck where your opponent has to steal more than half your agenda isn't already evil?
No, it's.
I just want you to.
I would do it for good and justice. The JNet people are the problem.
Okay, well then you can't yell at me when I root for Corps because I do it for good and justice.
No, everybody listening to this knows you're on the fuck side.
You could run 6 agenda PD. That's 4 3-pointers and 2 bifurcation, and then deal.
No big deal. Big deal is like an evil card.
Honestly, I mean, I don't know if I've shared this take publicly. Borealis, evil set. So nasty. So many sins in that set. Think about it. If Deep Dive goes, half of the Shaper cards have been banned.
For real?
Yeah,
No,
there's 8 Shaper cards.
I have to fucking look this shit up right now.
Yeah, well, let's. I'm gonna pull up Netrunner DB, and
Yeah,
because I was doing this math.
like Borealis or Parhelion or one of the specific sides.
Borealis.
The whole set.
When you do this, can I share the Peter translation speak story?
Go ahead.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not half. There's more than that.
So Peter has definitely explained this, said this take before, and I was like, for everyone listening in our Discord, what Peter is he is a male lion. Okay.
What the fuck?
Right. He's a male lion. Okay. And he finds he gets a new pride. He takes over. You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, those aren't my kids. Get out of here. And that is fucking Borealis. They're not his kids. Okay.
It's not a half. It's a quarter. I overstated it.
Yeah, I was looking at good luck manning Nanook and Flux Capacitor.
Okay, yeah. The new Flux Capacitor and Day, I think, are staying. But you were gonna ask me about Stone Ship Chart Room in NFL. Stone Ship Chart Room, right there in Borealis.
You get the
World
fuck out.
Tree, Turbine, Propeller.
Yep. Out.
Yeah.
Like every single runner card you hate. Come on, you cannot keep doing this.
Wait, who, me?
You exactly. Anytime somebody
Wait,
names a runner card around you, you are like, yeah, this shit is fucked up.
They should just stop printing runner cards. Runners don't need them anymore. We have enough.
No, I like runner cards. I play runner.
Yeah, you have plenty of runner cards right now. You have so many runner cards. We need a set that's just Corp cards.
I was cheering for Fermenter when everyone hated for I like Fermenter. I just purging it is a bitch, but I like Fermenter.
Yeah, but what has Stone Ship Chart Room done to you then?
Oh, Stone Ship Chart Room
from killing runners. That's what it's done to him.
Exactly. Like any card that saves you from damage, it's like a banned card now.
No.
Legal
Listen.
word, like we're.
I want to say I'm gonna plead my case, okay? If everyone is like, oh, it's just because Brandon plays Coco, that's loose, okay?
Loose but true.
No, it is not true. It's not the fact if you swapped out Stone Chip and it was Class Street where you actually had to put this fucking brick in your deck that also didn't say, oh, if this actually isn't a tech for this, I actually get stuff. I would be I would feel better about that, for example, right? My thing is that you have these cards that are we talked about it last episode. They're 0 to play, so they're busted. They're 1 influence, right? And Peter, name me my 1 influence Corp cards. Go ahead.
Spin Doctor.
Go ahead.
The ambient draw one.
Sorry?
The ambient draw one, anonymous tip or with the credit thing on top. Predictive planogram. Yeah.
Planogram. Spheticor Excavator is 1 influence. You can play that in every Corp deck.
Stop it. Keep going.
Gaslight. Gaslight is 1 influence.
Go ahead.
Oh, here's one that you'll love, Brandon. That's 1 influence. Maverice. Maverice is 1 influence.
Oh no, you didn't. Oh no, you didn't. Oh, listen. If we're gonna go there, we're gonna go there later because I can't do that right now. I'm trying to make a point. All right.
What's your point?
Oh, Wave is 1 influence.
Fuck off. Okay, yeah.
Public access plaza,
I've literally
public
listed all
health
the 1
portal,
influence
retribution,
Borealis.
Roughneck repair squad, Semaxamoon, Spin Doctor Sprint, Sviatagor, Powers at B, tier subscription, tree line,
Capacitor.
Vulnerability.
Capacitor's 1.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Tier subscription still exists?
Brother, it's Ashes.
Yeah.
100% exists.
No, listen. When it comes to Ashes down, I don't.
Okay, that's fair.
It's hard to remember.
It's like fucking millennia ago.
Those I was there, but those aren't my kids either. Um,
I'll list you all the good, and by all the good I mean all of the one influence Corp cards in Liberation. How about that?
okay.
The powers that be,
Yeah.
one influence. Business as usual is one influence.
Hey,
We remember what that does.
did you say
Go
goon?
ahead.
Tree line is actually good at one.
Tree line's fine.
Fine.
Capacitor, our other favorite 4 credit barrier.
All right, Peter. I think you're
Yeah.
gonna have to put a stop to this.
Oh, but there's only one more. Don't worry.
I'm worried.
It's balanced coverage.
Wait, say what?
Balanced coverage.
The goat.
Balance coverage. See,
It's
balance coverage
and there
being
you have
one.
it. That's all of the one influence Corp cards in the entire Liberation cycle.
Balance coverage being one influence actually makes me happy. It actually means there's points where we do know how to properly influence cards. That's good. Okay. Yeah, like a lot of the one influence, one of the one influence cards that are used, like two of them are just like filtering the cards, like Gen Ds or whatever. I guess you could use them as tempo as well. But none of those cards except I guess planogram, if they're tagged, business as usual.
Yeah.
If you're at a threat, have dual utility. You know what I mean? Like the runner just gets tech to harm your plan for 0 credits and has dual utility and can just be shoved in anywhere. And I couldn't get fucking mindscaping to be one influence. Like, give me a fucking
I
break.
mean, they have had that shit for like million years already.
Everyone you know what broke me. You know what broke me
No?
when I had a moment. I had a moment when I was like, "Yo, hey, like Ruben, you're playing this host deck, but I think it's over influence. Like, how did you get Lilo in here? Oh,
Lilo's
another
one
one,
influence.
another one, another one. Oh my god!
I'm
I
just
was
going to
like,
say that
really? This one too?
this is not a new issue. Sports Hopper has been around for years.
So
Sports Hopper costs $3 whole in order to
fucking
Oh
install.
no. In a game where you had like every bullshit money card already.
so you have to, yeah, you got to play this for it. So it costs $3.
So
What? Like, beside, I mean, I guess it gives you a link when that
it's a
matters.
draw 3, like same as Stoneship. What does Stoneship do to you except draw 2?
No. Actually, you can't compare Fort Hopper and Stone Chip.
Why?
They weren't. I mean, for the most part, maybe there are some people who did this. Okay, but like, you didn't put Sports Hopper in your deck to dodge kill. Like, you played Sports Hopper in your deck because it was like part of your Geist engine or like whatever the case may be. Like, you played Sports Hopper for like to help your engine, or like it was part of your engine, or you didn't really play it at all. Like
Okay,
Stone Chip is clearly like, we're gonna defend against damage, and if not, we get this draw, or we're gonna charge our 20.
no, I mean
You know what I
for
mean?
sure. Like I don't know why people wouldn't have done it. It's probably then that you didn't need it because kill was so much worse, or you had other better tools to deal with it.
Yeah, but like that's like I just think that like for how cracked before was, like
No, I mean if you
they
would
still
print Sports Opera right now, it would utilize exactly the same spot as Township does now.
if you swap them out.
Yeah, you get the nice LARPing effect of the charging thing, but nobody actually uses that.
I mean, I can use it in Hosha from die. But anyway, I think that I don't think like at one influence
Zero influence.
are we swapping the ideas of like Stone Chip and like
No, if you're literally
or
taking Sports Hopper from the Moombad and putting it into the same set, into standard right now, and taking Stone Ship out and putting it back there, they both fill exactly the same positions.
I think $3 is a lot of money. That's like your whole sure gamble, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's what I mean. Even if they did, right? Even if they did, like, at least the runner would be paying for that. Now, I don't think this should be neutral, so I'd still be like annoyed about it. But like, my point is that like there should be some actual real cost to having these cards, and there's not. That's really just my point. Is like I think to this like
Okay,
fundamentally
Stone Ship
wrong.
costs 1. Is it better for the game? It doesn't matter. Like, I think you're attacking at the wrong
No,
card.
don't fucking reboot me, okay? Don't fucking increase the ship by 1 and be like, yo, fuck that shit. Don't fucking reboot me. You know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. Okay?
I don't! Literally, I don't! I
it's-
don't understand your problem with Stone Ship.
It's the cost. Like, there's so many numbers that are wrong with it. It's the cost. It's the influence. It's how easily accessible it is, and that it's like dual utility. It's everything. Don't be like, we increased it by 1. Give me a break.
No, but like, Spell Super did exactly the same thing! That's not what I'm saying! And like, it was around for fucking years.
If you say that Sports Hopper did the exact same thing, I don't know what to tell you, because I just explained to you all the problems that I have with Stone Trip and No Freeline.
It's literally that it costs 0, but it draws 2 cards.
It costs 0.
Yeah.
It is 1 influence, very easily accessible.
And like,
It's
only issue of those that is not in Sports Hopper is the credit cost. So like that.
like
Who wants to call this the world's first PvP podcast?
I like there was like when Sports Hopper was around, there was very different tools, and the kills were a lot more hellacious. Like, it was a very different realm. Like, I can't believe we just picked Sports Hopper out of the heap and we're like, yeah, let's like no. I'm talking
like
about
that's what I mean. This issue is
I'm-
not the Stone Ship, it's the corpse that try to kill you.
you could you could argue that, but that's not what you were fucking arguing.
I am arguing that, exactly that.
No, you could be like, hey, end of the line sucks, give me Scorch. That's not what you said. You said,
I mean,
we're
I
talking
also
about
agree with that.
Sports
Give me fucking boom every day. Give me get this fucking measure response shit out of here. Give me a hard hitting, high profile target.
You don't like touch-ups end of the line? You don't think touch-ups end of the line is a fun kill combo?
Imagine fucking enjoying that shit. Like, Alpi was for really playing complete image, and like, what the fuck are we doing?
Is touch-ups the best double I've ever played?
Bruh. Come
You're
on.
smoking weed. I mean, doubles are
I love
kinda
touch-ups.
ass.
I love touch-ups.
You
I
love
really
touch-ups?
love- Yeah, I really love touch-ups, actually. Like,
Tell
I
that to
really,
Safer. I should tell that to Safer.
oh yeah, please. Like, I love
worry
touch-ups.
about
I love touch-ups. Like, I think touch-up slots in the like. Oh yeah, you got this right. Yeah, I love touch-ups. Touch-ups is very, 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 very nice.
Good. Do you love measured response? That's my other question.
I have so many hot takes about measured response. But what I would say about measured,
they're not hot at this point. You've had those on the grill for months.
They're extra burned.
yeah. So they're still hot. The grill's on, right?
I guess so. You're keeping them warm for sure.
Also, imagine saying that the touch-ups is the best double you have ever played. When you had Boom, you had Diversion Fund is kind of mid, but like you had also the Hunter Seeker. Those two are way more fucked up.
Okay. But that's why I asked the question, because I need someone to remind me.
Right.
I got you, brother.
Yeah. That's really. Yeah, you got me. Like, Hunter Seeker was sick, but like when I started playing the game,
Mm-hmm.
I was a very bad. I was just a very bad rush player. So I didn't play Scorps. So I didn't really have the chance to. But like, yes, that if I did, yes, Hunter Seeker was sick. And then yes, I played a lot of Boom. Sorry, Boom, I didn't mean to disrespect you like that. You are hot. You're a hottie. Love you. Consulting visit, because fuck yeah, consulting visit was
Yeah.
a card. Um, uh, there's probably other doubles that I'm missing, but like, leave that in the comment section below. Peter, I wanted to get into your playtest coordinator arc, if
Sure.
that's the thing we can do. You didn't just playtest, you were at some point the coordinator. What is a playtest coordinator? What does that entail? What like kind of
The playtest coordinator role has done different things over its life cycle and is doing different things now. After I stepped down as playtest coordinator, they hired on someone else. When I joined on, it was because there was no one filling the role, and the dev team was really small. There were like 2.5 members of dev, basically. And there were administrative duties that needed to be handled, and basically they needed someone to step up and handle some of the admin tasks to take that weight off of dev. I joined on as playtest coordinator, I would say, towards the end of RWR. And then the bulk of the work that I did as playtest coordinator was at the start and the middle period of elevation. And my job for that was basically handle applications, do some rebuilding of like the onboarding materials, instructions for new playtesters, and make sure that the server stayed roughly moderated. There's a Discord that Playtest uses, and my job is to sort of look over that. During that time, I sort of sat in on dev meetings and helped out a little bit with like basically rollout of material to playtesters, that kind of stuff. And I did that for, I would say, about a year, roughly. Then I stepped down as playtest coordinator. But from my perspective, it was because the dev team had expanded a whole lot. Like there were a bunch more dev members. They had a much better grip on what was going on. And there were a lot of things that I was doing that I started to feel like I was a bottleneck for, as opposed to like someone who is actively contributing to the environment. Since I have stepped down, there has been a new playtest coordinator, and my understanding and my sense is that basically the role it's had its sort of duties and expectations adjusted slightly. It's going to be handling slightly different stuff from what I was doing, where basically I pictured myself as mostly a stopgap person. I was there to pick up like a bunch of the administrative slack so that it wasn't falling to a bunch of dev people when they were understaffed. And as a result, I also did stuff around like when we started playtesting Elevation, I was doing a lot related to like getting that off the ground on a pretty short term. That's basically what I did as coordinator. I wasn't sad to see the role go, partly because whenever I have like a semi-official position in any capacity, doesn't matter what it is, I take very seriously like the responsibilities to adhere to the expectations of that position. And in my view, one of those expectations as coordinator was to not be a strong or overwhelming voice in the playtest space. Don't speak out over other playtesters. Make sure that I'm like just there as sort of a supervisory position. And I definitely started towards the end of my time as coordinator, started to feel like, I kind of just want to be a scrappy playtester again and like share some hot takes and not feel like I'm worried about speaking over anyone else if I do that. So I think that was a secondary reason why I felt like I'm ready to like move on from playtest coordinator. So that was kind of the arc for me. I was very happy to help out NSG. And I'm obviously still heavily involved in playtest. And this was not like, oh, I departed on bad terms. I was just like, my position, my conception of the role, I was basically done with it at that point. And it seems like it's going to sort of evolve as it passes on to someone else now.
as like a playtest coordinator, what was like? Do you have any particular like highlights or like high moments that you were like, as someone who like play tested? There's cool times where like you play test something, it comes out, and it still fits like what you thought it was going to be. It's balanced. It's like, you know what I mean, and you're like, yes, like it's such a nice moment, or a set's finish that you like helped work on, and like, it's such a highlight and a nice moment. Like as a playtest coordinator, where do those kind of moments like come in?
So as playtest coordinator, it's like I was not in any special way responsible for cards getting released. That's very much still like a dev thing. That's still a thing that playtesters do. So a lot of the work that I was doing was like way more background. I would say the stuff that I was happy about, like particularly proud of as playtester, was getting some stuff set up at the start of elevation testing. We were like making a pretty quick pivot from finishing RWR to starting on elevation, and there were a lot of things that I sort of wanted to do or implement to make the place better and more generally accessible for some new playtesters to join on. There were some internal ideas about like internal leagues to run, or like new onboarding information for playtesters, a sort of slightly new flow of how to get people in, and also new things like internal deck resources, that kind of thing, that I helped coordinate, like getting set up. There were a bunch of different people who I don't want to like shout them out unnecessarily and like say, hey, this person's a playtester. But there are several folks in playtest who do an extremely good job of maintaining internal resources related to like different branches and sort of stuff outside of the Discord, sort of documentation, who are like essential to making that place run. I was just kind of like a little bit goo in between them, like making sure that passwords were in the right place, people could act. But I was really happy with all that stuff getting set up during the elevation time. There's obviously still more to do. It's like an ongoing process, but I think sort of the first couple months of elevation, I feel very glad about getting all that working. It was a pretty tense little section, but that was definitely a high point for me. Definitely not the most glamorous stuff, but it's kind of got to be done.
It's one of those jobs that somebody needs to do.
Axu hates when I call him a pillar of the community, but
Do I?
yeah.
I just don't think
Yeah.
I am one, but like you can call me that. I'm not like Jai. I don't get offended when somebody compliments me.
Okay. Yeah, I think Peter, definitely one of the behind the scenes pillar of the community, does a lot of work. If you've ever, I don't think this has come up, but like, if you're in playtesting, or I don't know where else you posted your work, Peter, like your
On
written work
GLC
is
sometimes. Or do we
so
count
good.
that as work when Peter is cheat posting on
No,
GLC?
I don't post long form stuff in GLC. That's
I
mostly just
mean,
kind of
your
quiet
posts on
shit posting.
GLC are still like the top 5, like actually thought out
Thank
post
you.
on the fucking server.
Yeah, like, do you remember like the long like love letter that like Whiteblade wrote you one time? It was hype.
Wait,
I
which was that? Hold on, I should remember this. What was this?
like, I think it was like earlier when like Whiteblade came, like was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna do some testing now, whatever, and came on and like was reading like a lot of your writing, and like was like, and just sent you this whole thing about like how he's excited to test with you, and like how like your evaluation of the game, and like how you've written it all out and all this stuff. Like he really enjoyed it, and I'm like, yep. I like, within like a week and a half, 2 weeks, I was like, oop. Have you ever heard of a testing group? Because you should come join ours.
No, shout outs to Whiteblade.
We might need to edit that out because no shoutouts to other podcasts, but
Fair enough.
no, I'm joking.
I didn't mention the podcast. I didn't say the podcast.
Exactly. He didn't shout out
No,
the podcast.
everybody knows what plays on ShadowNet. Everybody.
I seconded Peter. But yeah, if you get a chance to take a look at Peter's work, Peter, I don't know. Have you gotten a chance to talk to Kikai, Ben?
Only very little. The times that I have gotten a chance to speak with him, I was like super busy with other stuff. So I was like, hey, let's have a more involved conversation when I'm not like working weekend. I think it would be great if I got a chance to talk to him more. I really like the stuff he does with the Surveyor. It's like I read that every time it comes out.
Yeah, no, I meant just because just about needing a North American surveyor writer.
Yeah.
You're-
Yeah, we should check with Ben. You might need to edit this bit out. But there was a proposition that I would write about the I think it might have been Denver, uh, megacity or something.
Mhm.
You
Um,
actually go there?
or maybe it was like Pittsburgh or something. No, I would write about it
Oh,
remotely.
yeah.
But I think that was like a weekend where the legislature was in session, and I was like, I would love to, but like I'm gonna be at the Capitol for like 10 hours today. So
The state capital.
Oh, okay. So you have talked. I just want to
yeah.
make sure that like I haven't botched this because I was supposed to get you together, and maybe
No, no, no. We've spoken. We've spoken.
Okay, good.
I feel like a lot of the long writing I've done about Netrunner has either been in like closed team spaces or has been for playtest.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of it that's like out
I don't
there
think
really.
I have ever seen
Um,
like a thing you have wrote outside of like Discord messages or something. I mean, okay, I got shared the one thing about corpse being like bad, but
yeah. Um, and there's some other long stuff that I've adapted from like other stuff that I've played. That's floating around about like basically you shouldn't evaluate the game based on early, mid, or late game. It's actually a lot better to talk about like different resource levels as like how people utilize how many resources they have.
Mhm.
That's like a sort of theoretical thing. But there's a long, very boring essay on that. And then there's a whole bunch of really long playtest documents I've written internally, which like can't really see the light of day that much because they mostly reference internal playtest stuff. But I feel like that's a lot of where my writing energy goes. Is mostly things that are kind of internal to either a team or playtest.
Mm.
In terms of right now, obviously there's going to be very limited amount that you can say about this, but like,
Yeah.
so I will ask, how are you feeling as far as like upcoming sets, card, like what, like the direction we're going in? How do you feel about that?
That's a good question. I will have to be circumspect about it.
Yeah.
I think so. I think I said at the top of this, current standard I think is really runner sided. That's not a hot take.
It's not. Yeah.
And it's like statistically it's runner sided in addition to feeling very runner sided.
Mhm.
I don't like that as much. Um, as far as where the game is going, I think Elevation represented an attempt to like deal with that. And its problem is just that there's a lot of stuff baked into how NSG has been designing cards and like all the loss of the FG cards that meant that Elevation was, even if it was stepping in the right direction, like it needed to take several strides that it was just couldn't really take
Mm.
going that way.
Right.
Which is fine. Like I think that would have been too much to ask for Elevation to like fix everything on short notice with the FFG rotation. As far as where things are going next, I generally feel good. There's like uh, there are some really fundamental things to think about regarding how side balance works and how corps function and how runners function and the relationship between ice and icebreakers that are going to be complicated to work out. But I have a lot of confidence in the dev team, like a great deal of confidence in the effort, the sincerity of the dev team, and also their conceptual direction. I can't like I also have that confidence in design, but I don't speak to design as much because they're like one step removed
Mm.
from playtest. Um, just that's a sort of internal administrative thing. It's not like I like all the design members that I've worked with. They're great folks. So I do have a lot of confidence in where things are going, and I'm cautiously optimistic. It's a big mountain to climb, but I think people are properly geared for it. I'll put it that way. That's about as much as I can say, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. Like that gets me more excited in the future, I guess.
Yeah, like I think it's fair to say this that broadly the people involved in development on both the design and development teams want it to be possible to play like a good scoring court who just like can score agendas on the table in a normal way.
Mm.
Like PD is like a good deck that should be playable. This is an acknowledged issue that that's not necessarily as much the case right now, or that those decks feel soft or weak or inconsistent. And it's also something that long term is a goal for how Netrunner plays out. And that's good. Like I generally agree with that. And I think anybody who wants Corps to be scoring agendas normally and normal is a loaded word, but like scoring agendas in a rather conventional, like iced up on the board way. People who want that should generally also be happy with and agree with what dev is going to and design are trying to do. And I agree with that, and so I agree with what they're doing, and I'm optimistic in that sense. I think the phrase I've used in the past is Netrunner's a good game. We just need cards that let us play it. Like if you just play a normal ass game of I'm going to put some ice on the table, the runner's going to make some runs to check it, and we're going to find out where the agendas are. That's a fun game. Like that's a great game, and I have a great time playing it. And we just need to make sure that the cards that we're printing don't get in the way of letting us do that, or they enable us to do that even. And I think that the goal is to make that possible.
Said before we started recording, we were going to get to your feelings on Skunkworks. I think there's something else that we needed to get to.
There probably was. I don't remember.
Still cannot understand the Skunkworks take.
You don't understand the Skunkworks take?
So fair.
Okay, so I don't like Skunkworks interaction with a whole bunch of approach effects.
Okay, that's more fair.
I think that there was an intent, from my understanding, this is before my time, but there was an intention in Gateway to like standardize a whole bunch of stuff to the approach window. Yep. You have already seen like how much of a frustration that is with like its interaction with Formicary, with how Adrian, for example, is on a successful run. It's not on approach because of Skunkworks. Like there's a bunch of stuff that Skunkworks just makes awkward now because it puts an additional tax on the approach window when you get to sort your triggers. That's annoying. I don't like that at a design level. At a gameplay level, I don't mind Skunkworks as the runner. Like I'll handle it. I don't like putting it in my deck as the Corp because I dislike playing it as like fake ice. It kind of insults me in that respect. I think it's a representative of things to not like about where ice is at. We play Skunkworks because our ice doesn't actually do anything, and so we need a card that says, hey, let's just shortcut all of this interesting break and just make you pay money. You need to pay 2 clicks or $5. That's what the card is going to do. And it's like, well, let me just play an ice that does that instead and isn't trashable.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to say, isn't that just a Biorite?
It's Ravana. Yeah. No, every time I was with this, so this harkens back to the top of the podcast, Architects of Tomorrow. Usually when you would see people build like their first or second Architects deck in like I guess I'm going to play this ID and try it out. They were either playing annoying Hyperglacier, they were doing the JNet shit, or they were some competitive player who's like, I'm just going to put the good cards in here and play a few more Bioroids and see how it feels. And they would put Managarm in their Architects deck, which is like straight up wrong because you should just be playing 3 Ravana. And Ravana is Managarm. It's 2 clicks or like $5 most of the time. Sometimes it's 4 with Unity if they have all their breakers out, but they can't trash it. And you can put it on any server pretty easily. It's like there are some cases in which Managarm is slightly better, like it works better with Tranquility, but it's much less porous. It like couldn't be pinholed. So it is basically just a Bioroid. Like Managarm is a Bioroid ice, but it gets rid of all of the other fancy, interesting shit and just asks you to pay a resource cost. Like if people don't like ice because it's just about paying money and it's just a math problem, then Managarm is the worst version of that. It's not actually interesting. It doesn't actually involve resolving cool subroutines. It doesn't involve installing breakers or like choosing when or how to break. It's just pay money or break it, and the runner can trash it. So that's why I don't like Managarm.
God damn it, you're too good at this shit.
I don't mind playing against it as runner. In plenty of Corp decks, you should put it in. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm sold. Fuck Managarm.
Like,
this has that effect on people.
Yeah, but how the fuck are you still the biggest PD lover on saying Managarm is bad? No, like I totally understand now that it's on like design level, where like I mostly think about the game on like the gameplay level, where like I need Managarm to do stuff.
Yeah.
And like Managarm is the way PD used to score, but that's like a design issue kind of thing.
It's like me pitching Brandon on why Cyberdecks should stay banned, Sandbox. And at the time, Brandon was like, no, I love this agenda. And a bunch of people love this agenda. And I was like making some design argument about basically why it should be banned and shouldn't be allowed.
I mean, Brandon has
and he was like, yeah, that's fine. I guess I agree.
Sandbox should be unbanned argument side already, so people have a bad influence on him.
Wait, what's bad influence on?
People who got you to the side where we want to unban Cyberdecks.
No. I want to make this perfectly clear. As far as Cyberdecks went, I was going down with the ship because I was the captain. Okay, like I was driving the bus. Whatever you want to say, there was no people. Okay, who are like, no, I was the sandbox guy. Okay, that was me. All right. I just want to make that clear. Love my boo sandbox.
Okay, do you want it unbanned
Rest
or
in
not?
peace. Like, I know it cannot be
No, right
unbanned,
now.
but I would love.
If
That's
you
what
got
I
like a
mean.
gun that can unban cyberdecks right now, do you shoot it?
Why a gun?
That's the first thing that came to mind. You get a button. Okay, you
Oh,
get a
I'm the
button.
when
That-
when the Texan asks you why a gun is
I don't have this negative side effect with living with cancer.
All right, fair.
Okay, you get a button that unbans cyberdeck instantly. Do you press it or no?
I don't think so.
They got to
Well, like
you.
I
I
think
thought you were my brother.
I, listen, I love Sandbox, but like the virus plus fly spawners probably
Okay, do you
like
press the button on Vacheron then?
no. I want to explain that. I think
No,
like
I'm getting betrayed here. The whole last episode we were talking about unbanning these cards, and now you switch your tune.
okay because like no here after the podcast people were saying and I'm like I feel like the tenor of what I was trying to say was like missed. If we're not going to get anything else, then unban Vashon because like we need something that like makes it hard, like harder for the. So like if you're gonna make ice better and make people pay $1 gazillion for ice, fine. That's we can do that. If
Yeah, that's
you're
the right thing to do. To be clear,
right,
I just want to put that on the table. That's what we should be doing.
right. Like the other thing would be to like something like Vashon where it's like okay, you stole this and yes, at some point you may get 3 points, but like right now, it counts as nothing, and we keep playing the game, right? Like you make the 5 threes, you like that's another way to make it the game difficult for the runner. Is really why I started with Vashon, but it didn't have to be Vashon. It could be Bologna. It could be okay, like oboe and alco sounds is like whoo baby, but like you know what I mean, like not fucking send a message. Basalt is like
Basalt is pretty bad. You don't have to try to defend it.
okay, good. And like, that's good. Okay, you know, I like so like if we're forced to play the 5 threes,
Mhm.
then I think they should be
Go.
kind of up because they're so bad. Like they're terrible to have in your deck. Like they're so bad. Like if HB got Vashron right now,
Yeah.
I guess like you create. Like, I don't think you can for the decks that it's going to create. Like, it's going to create a toxic deck that you don't want, actually. It's going to be like Vacheron send a message Leo, and you're going to hate your life. I promise. Like, someone's just
Poetry
going to
assets,
stick.
maybe poetry would be okay if you had a 0 point
Yeah,
agenda in your
exactly.
deck
Poetry
and you were going to win
PD,
anyway.
like, yeah.
But, like, the deck you're actually going to face is like going to stick Daily Quest in the remote, and you're going to be pissed. I
Didn't you want
promise.
Glacier to exist?
I do. You don't. So, like, when you say I'm. when you say like I'm betraying you, I'm really not. When I think about these cards, like for real, if we're gonna actually ban them. I look at all aspects and like people who don't like are not gonna have fun in certain aspects. Like right now, I said like with this meta, only really okay with it because like prison and kill, I'm like fine with, and like rush is like it. It like it is what it is. So it's kind of just always existed and it's whatever, right? Like whereas like a lot of people really don't like playing against those archetypes. That's like even worse for them when their corp's bad, and then what they're playing against on the runner side is like not fun to play against as well. In a real sense, like, do I actually want like would I want Vacheron? Like would I want to play against Vacheron again? Like,
Yeah.
yes. But
Exactly.
like in this meta, like right now, it'll lead like on a grand scale, it'll lead to more people feeling excitement that I would get.
How
If that
about we
makes
don't
sense.
care about the people?
Oh,
Well,
then
fuck
yeah,
the
give me a
people.
lot.
Give me
Then
give me Washer on.
then give me a lot of things, but like give me a lot of things. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that's kind of where that. I think that like I don't know. I have to go back and listen and see how I explained, but I feel like that part was missed. Was just that like it's more the idea of Asheron. It's more the. Do you remember? Oh yeah, Peter, you were there when Sokka was like, we should have a 3-pointer that is like at threat 4. This is actually worth 3 points. Otherwise, this is worth nothing to you or
Oh
your.
yeah.
That was fucking the best agenda I've ever heard. It was cracked. You just have these 3 bricks in your deck for both players, but like they still have to get. Oh yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
Does it
It was.
change
It
to go
was.
to 3 after you steal other agendas, or is it like if runner accesses turn 1, it's literally blank?
It's literally blank.
That's kind of fucked up. Again, like, why do people want to make kill decks better? Let me
You've
score
never like
agendas, please. I beg you.
you've never like sent anybody to the shadow realm and
I
been
have.
like listen.
I don't live for that shit. I live for the install advanced agenda pushes. Not the oh I kill you with Drago shit. Even though I did the Drago shit for like half a year.
I'll
The
be
only
honest.
way that runners should die is through their own hubris and recklessness if they run into my Seisenton, which I've come around on. I still don't like that ice that much, but
Yeah, no, fuck size and
that's
done.
when runners should die.
I think if you add to your own recklessness, stuff like hard hitting news, stuff like scissors, I agree.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
uh-huh.
So like you do something, Corp responds to that and kills you. Not this like Corp
Yeah.
aggressively like going to fuck you up for not doing anything.
I don't know. I felt so much more rewarded when I've killed the good Corp players and scoring out against Corp players. Like I find
Runner
it.
plays
Huh?
Or sorry, runner players. When I've killed runner players versus scoring out against runner players, I felt so much more rewarded, or it's so much more rewarding, I should say. Because usually a very good player is like doing everything in their power to stop that from happening, and if you still do, it feels so good. Versus like usually when I score out against like good runners, it's just because like they didn't have a fucking piece. It wasn't like most of the time
That's
it's nothing
currently
I
right.
fucking.
Like I think you're again like focusing on the current situation too much.
Yeah, but we're in the current situation. You're like, why do we want to make kill decks better? So I was like, yeah.
I mean, why do you want to make
Um,
kill decks better? Kill decks are the only thing that works right now.
they're not the only thing.
It's kind
There's
of the
Rush
only thing.
Wayland.
Yeah, Rush Wayland that dies to one tech piece.
Wait, which is the tech piece?
The air blades or light the fire.
Oh,
Like literally only way that those decks score out is like Zato. Or your Jai and like you just kill different people.
Which yeah, I mean, I don't know. I enjoy, but yeah, the scoring decks like they're fun. Like they like we can help them too.
They
You
can
know.
be fun, but the scoring deck should be the default.
yeah. I mean, I think this is an
Uh,
argument that may not have a ton of traction with either of you, but I think on a thematic level, it makes more sense if the corporation cares more about scoring out than killing.
Yes.
Like the runner is one punny person, they're one little individual in a big society. The corp is invested in narratively, not just mechanically, advancing their agendas. That's what they should care about. Not necessarily going and killing some random citizen, or
Yeah.
non-citizen or
Like
whoever.
no, I totally agree with that. I just have more fun.
yeah,
Like
because
that's
you're
Yeah.
what
evil. I've been saying this for years.
no. It really has to do with like a lot like a metas where like if you actually like ideally I rather a scoring plan that forks into a killing plan
Yeah, like
is
if I could
is
have super
like
modernism, I would be so happy.
yeah like Argus or something where it's like
Argus
yeah we're
outfit,
trying to
anything
do
like
the
that. Like hard hitting news is just a goat.
right it's just like a primary thing but like that's I like those things but like
Yeah, that's peak cinema for sure.
I think you're right about just like yes like when you think of the game like when I explain the game like I don't like to like people who never heard of the game before. I'm not like, oh yeah, you kill people. I'm like, you score to 7, which should be the first thing, but it's a tough task.
Hopefully we
But
get back there someday.
I did it. I did
You
it
scored
once.
out?
Yeah, I with my kill Nebula.
Oh, probably because I just stopped running, right?
No, so I was able to score like 2 false leads and like a 3-2.
Okay, sure. All right. Step one.
Okay, I had 2 false leads and a 3-2, and then I just double advanced by 5-3, sacked their whole turn, scored by 5-3, and then just waited for a turn where like eventually like you can't flip me. If you don't win by this, then I'm gonna score on a 3-2, and that's what happened. Yeah. But it wasn't like, because again, I wanted to kill them, but they had like no free lunch, 2 stone chip, and I was like, you know what? I might be able to score out instead of like trying to fight through this kill. And it was the line I took, and I'm glad I did.
So that 5-3 was, so scoring 2 false leads and sacking them to score 5-3 is the same as scoring an 11-3, right? That's, I mean, sounds like
Yeah.
scoring decks are alive and well if you're doing that.
No, the false leads were faster, man. Don't act like I didn't put them like.
Brandon scores an 11-3 from hand. That sounds pretty sick.
Built different, I guess.
11-3 from hand. Oh my
Nebula is
god.
a good ID, is my conclusion there.
I love
I
me
mean,
some
we have
Nebula.
been saying a
It's
couple of episodes like fuck Nebula though, but yeah, sure.
Axu's been saying fuck. Nebula is so much fun. I like.
You shouldn't
I don't know
have
if you
like
can
a
tell so
remoteless fast advance as a main tool in the game. I will say
Yeah,
this.
imagine if Claude existed, right?
No, like fuck
Imagine.
Klopp, but like fuck Klopp, but
Brandon's
like
like, no, hold on. No Claude, no Claude.
yeah, no Klopp, but like, but like what I don't get, like that was Yellow's MO.
Remoteless fast
Like
advance.
that. It doesn't have to be remoteless. That's just
It
something that's
is.
something
That's the problem. It just is, and it will be
that
for
have.
a long time.
I've played versions that are asset versions. I've played versions that have a maze. I've
Okay,
like
how many times
jammed behind a piece of
you
ice.
did the classic like win against Janet casuals with the deck and then play against a good player and oh this deck belongs in the garbage bin.
The classic.
Wait. So you think I never made like a remote with Nebula like in a tournament?
Real remote, no.
Yeah, I definitely have.
No, but like that's not your game
Like,
plan going in.
No, it depends on what deck I'm playing against. Like I read the situation. If it makes sense to make
Yeah,
a
but
remote,
like
I will. Yeah.
still the next main game plan is remoteless fast advance, right?
Listen, I would make a remote if I had Rashida. I don't have Rashida, so
Brandon immediately goes on the defensive.
like if you want to cut to the chase, like
Yeah, I'm just saying, fuck Nebula, fuck remoteless fast advance. That's my everything.
like listen, give me a reason to make a remote, and I'll make a remote.
I would love them to give you a reason to make a remote. I would love them so much.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's like not a fucking Nebula.
No,
problem.
we can
It's
also
a...
take your fucking reason to do this shit away.
No, why punish me for their like
their sins, because
exactly.
this is a collective society. They do evil, you suffer also.
No, before you told me on Vacheron, you said fuck the people. So can I have my reason to make the remote, please? Thank you. Peter, is there anything like we didn't get to that you wanted to kind of speak on or address, or things you got coming up? Anything like that along those lines?
No, but if something comes up, I'll just demand you have me on the podcast again so I can talk about it.
Oh, okay. Actually, one thing that I wanted to get to. All right, can you just quickly talk about being as tall as you are? Because I have to update you on something. Yeah.
Sure. So for reference, for those listening who have probably not met me in person, I'm 2 meters tall, about 6'7", which is pretty tall. It's fine. It's okay. It's inconvenient sometimes. Plane travel stinks. Notably, the standard door frame height in the United States is 6'8", so I have to be careful about what shoes I wear. But I'm fortunate that I'm not any taller than I am. Otherwise, I'd be hitting my head all the time, even more than I do already.
Okay.
That's my update. That's how things are going. It's okay.
So you're 6'7" without shoes.
Yes.
Okay. So I have to tell you this. So remember how we were there, we were in Europe, and you're like, oh, like I feel like you're taller than was said, and we measured like we were doing like very like estimated measurements of like my wingspan and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what it turns out that like I hadn't actually had like a proper height measurement like in a long time.
Yeah.
And when I went to the doctors, like, yeah, they were like, we usually don't do height because like when you're an adult, like it doesn't change till you're like way old, right?
Mm.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, and they're like, but it like turns out like we don't have actually a height measurement on file, so want to do
Oh.
it? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. They did make me take my shoes off, but like we can say that like probably some of my size of shoes is probably like an inch and a bit. Like that's probably what shoes are gonna give you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fair to say, yeah. I measured in at 195 centimeters. Okay.
Holy moly, dude.
Yeah. I with and I was like, and I converted that to feet, and I was like, yeah, 6'4 3/4. I was buzzing. I felt super good. I'm like, okay, so no bare feet, very like 6'3 3/4. I'm like, that is awesome. That is awesome. And then I went to like a friend's like birthday party, and there was another person who was like tall, and they're like, yeah, but like, we're like, I'm like, I don't know, let's say like 190 or like 6'2" or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but they were like, I have a 6'6" wingspan. And I was like, oh, this is hype. So then like went back to back and like, did the wingspan thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa. And they're like, man, you might have like a 6'9" wingspan. I'm like, I don't think it's that big, but I'm like, whoa, the measurements that I thought I was were like not as much as they are. Like I'm actually a pretty tall, long dude. Not as tall as Peter H, but I just wanted to let you know that like I'm up here.
You're part of the club.
I'm part of the
Yeah,
club.
You wanted people to
we're both the big lad.
let people know that you're
Yeah.
actually tall. Nobody would have
Yeah.
believed it otherwise.
No.
So next time they talk shit to you on JNet, you're gonna be like, hey.
You can post. I'm almost 2 meters.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm tall, all right? That's my answer to why I'm playing this deck. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Peter, for being the awesome special guest that you were, and just being awesome overall.
Sure.
I'm sorry
Yeah,
that the
everybody.
episodes got a bit competitive at certain points.
No, that's what we need. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we outie.
We outie.